Hello, my name is Angela Rogers. I'm a senior at Cal Baptist University, getting my bachelor's degree in December, so that's exciting. I decided to do my project on college female soccer center midfielders. I have a history with soccer, so it's a passion of mine. I really enjoyed the sport, so it was interesting making a training regimen for them. So I'm going to get started by talking about the sports analysis. The sports analysis breaks down into energy systems and just being aware of injuries. The phosphagen and aerobic glycolysis systems are the most utilized during this sport. So phosphagen is just short bouts of sprints, short rest intervals, very, very high intensities. Aerobic glycolysis is a little bit longer of a running span, a little bit longer of a rest interval. Basically, your aerobic capacity is a little bit higher when you use this one. Injuries to be aware of: the lower body is obviously the sport of soccer, so ankle sprains, knee tears, ACL, PCL, and muscle and ligament strains or tears are very, very common. Sometimes you get a shoulder or a head injury, but most of the time you'll see anything related to the lower body. Here we have the movement analysis. It's very brief. Obviously, soccer has a lot more movements than just running, kicking, and jumping, but these three are the most utilized. The lower body definitely has prime movers such as the biceps femoris, rectus femoris, your vastus lateralis and medialis, anything basically to do with your glutes and your hamstrings, your ankles and feet, your calves, gastrocnemius. All of those are prime movers in muscle actions such as knee flexion and extension, ankle dorsiflexion, plantar flexion. There's a little bit of upper body. There's shoulder joints and elbow joints when using full body workouts such as running or jumping. So those play a little bit of a part in there. But this is just kind of a small table to get an idea of what a center midfielder is moving with, and just like the kinetics that go with soccer and how vigorous it is. Here's an energy system breakdown. Aerobic glycolysis I feel like is the most utilized by a center midfielder, mainly because they hardly ever stop running. You have your small breaks such as throw-ins and goal kicks, corner kicks. There's a good 15 to 20 second break there, but for the most part you're not running at full speed a majority of the time. You're just doing short bouts of sprinting when you're using the phosphocreatine system. But for the most part, the full 90 minutes minus the halftime is all based around aerobic glycolysis. Just to touch on it, soccer uses a combination of all three energy systems, but mainly phosphagen or phosphocreatine and aerobic. Center mid position is the most active position on the field from an aerobic standpoint. So what I mean by that is that the goalie is a lot less active than the center midfielder, so my training regimen would be completely different. So aerobically, the goalie doesn't do as much running or jumping or anything related to the aerobic glycolytic system. They would use the phosphagen system mainly because the action that they get is just in short, really high intensity energy spouts. The test selection just means that you're testing for levels of fitness or training status. So the tests I chose are 12-minute run, T-test, 40-yard sprint, push-up, 1 rep max back squat, and all in these orders because aerobic tests and agility and sprinting tests should always come before any power tests. So the 12-minute T-test and 40-yard sprint are obviously aerobic related tests. Test aerobic power, agility, aerobic capacity, speed, all things utilized in soccer. The push-up just measures muscular endurance, and the 1 rep max back squat represents muscular power. So all of these are related to soccer, and they have a rationale. You want to make sure when you're choosing testing that you have a reason for choosing these. And because all of the first three are basically self-explanatory, the other two, push-ups, you always want to have good muscular endurance throughout because it gives you energy throughout the game. 90 minutes is a really long time. 1 rep max back squat just builds your lower body strength. It can see how strong your quads are and your hamstrings, as well as looking forward to progression with power. So here I'm going to go ahead and show you my comprehensive program design, and I'll show you how we did in all 4 parts of the season. So here in off season, I made the goal hypertrophy. I did 2 days of speed, 1 of plyo, 4 of resistance. Started out 75% for the first 2 weeks, 77% for weeks 3 and 4, and up to 80% for weeks 5 and 6. I decided to increase the intensity every 2 weeks, starting in off-season and preseason. Preseason, I decided to make the goal strength and power, varied up the exercises a bit. 2 days of speed, 1 day of plyo, 3 of resistance. Started out at 77% to keep the wave-like pattern for the first 2 weeks. The 3rd and 4th weeks at 80%, and week 5 and 6 are at 83%. So definitely just, she will be progressing maybe a little bit slower. And then coming up on in-season, she should have made some progression with muscular power. So here I have muscular endurance, strength, and power for the primary goals. That's mainly for maintenance. 1 of speed, 1 of plyos, 2 of resistance. Started out at 75% for week 1, 80% week 2, 82% week 3, 85% week 4, and then I believe week 5 I kept it at 85% and then increased the reps. Or I'm sorry, I decreased the reps and increased the rest time. And then week 6 I jumped it up to 87%, decreased the rest and increased the, or I'm sorry, increased the rest, decreased the reps. So moving on to the off season, the most active rest season there is. Here obviously I made the goal active rest and a little bit of hypertrophy in there as well, just to make sure that we're maintaining muscular power while still working on speed. I felt like speed and plyos are really intense workouts, so I made them on separate days than resistance training. Soccer players use a lot more aerobic training than they would muscular training, but I still wanted to make sure that muscular power and strength is equal to the amount of speed and plyometric training that they're going to be getting as well. So in week 1 I did a wave-like pattern, went back to 75%, jumped up to 77, 77 to 80, 82 in week 4, and then back down to 77 for week 5, and then 80% for week 6. So this was just to make sure that in off-season I wasn't pushing her too hard. And then I altered the reps and also varied up the exercises to make sure that everything was correct on here. So normally I would maybe put in some cardio at the end of the workouts. I generally don't always split up speed and plyometrics, but soccer players are so much different than any other type of workout, so kind of aerobic capacity is definitely key in a sport like this. So any special considerations, I have injury prevention, athlete's level of fitness, variety of exercises, making sure they have adequate rest periods. That's definitely important for rehabilitation and recovery. Assessments and recording, making sure that they can document and actually visualize the progression that they're making, make sure they stay motivated. Safety, making sure everything is safe, proper supervision, proper equipment, proper exercises, and also like having fun. This sport is actually a really fun sport to train for. You get a mix of everything, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I hope to use my regimen someday.